Welcome back to Unearthed, the show where we dive deep into the underground and pull up the heaviest, the strangest, and the most brilliant new releases. This week is all about extreme, raw chaos, dissonant atmosphere, primal thrash fury, progressive journeys, blackened shrieks, and a monumental closer that left me speechless. So welcome to the show! Welcome to Unearthed! Roll the intro, please. First up on Earth, we got Arabrot with their brand new album Rite, Dionysus, released August 29th through Magick Records. Take a listen.
To the broken down before they gather like clouds of stone.
This one apparently was produced in a church studio in Norway, and you hear what they were going for. Now, leans into goth rock, art rock, experimental electronics, there's industrial pulses, thick synth textures, and a theatrical darkness baked into the production. It's eerie, it's moody, it's definitely aiming to be unsettling. On paper, it sounds promising, but here's the thing, atmosphere alone doesn't make a good record, and that's the biggest issue here. Now, the atmosphere is dripping off this album, but the songs themselves don't hold it together, in my opinion. The vocals are weak, thin, and instead of drawing you in, they just hover over the mix like a background noise. Now, there's no power, no weight behind them. For a record that's supposed to feel gothic and commanding, this fucking kills it. Now, the songwriting, way too repetitive. Instead of creating tension, the repetition just leaves you bored. Tracks like Rock and Roll Star are painfully sluggish. It doesn't feel like rock and roll, it feels like filler. Now, I'll give credit where it's due. There are moments that show potential. Now, The Devil's Hut carries a moody Southern Gothic melody that actually cuts through the fog. Satanango is easily the high point, finding the distorted guitars come crashing in and it feels heavier, darker, and more alive. That's the kind of energy they should have tapped into across the whole fucking record. And to be fair, the album does improve towards the end. The songwriting tightens up, the atmosphere starts to match the music, and there's a glimmer of hope. The last stretch feels stronger, like they finally woke up after halfway through and decided to start writing songs instead of just layering mood. But here's where I've got to rant. It is not enough. You can't drag a listener. You can't drag me through a half hour of weak vocals, boring mid-sections, repetitive songwriting, and then suddenly decide to show up at the end. That doesn't make it a great record. It makes it frustrating. You've got all this potential, all this atmosphere, but you waste it on songs that meander and don't deliver. I wanted to like this album, I really did. It's weird, it's gothic, it's different, but it just doesn't stick. It's all fog and no fucking fire. So yeah, there are highlights. The Devil's Hut, Satanango, the stronger finish. The overall it falls flat. On the Unearthed scale, Rite, Dionysus gets buried in the shallow grave. Atmosphere alone can't save weak vocals and half-baked songwriting. There's a vision here, but it's buried under its own weight, and I'm not digging it back up. Get in the bin. Next up on Unearthed, we've got Magick and the new album Rituals of Anathematic East, released August 29th through Apocalyptic Witchcraft. Take a listen. This one is raw, ritualistic black metal, and it's one hell of a ride. Now, the atmosphere is thick and suffocating. The guitars are drenched in dissonance, and the production has that gritty underground edge that makes the whole thing feel quite fucking dangerous. On the first note, you're thrown straight into the fire, and it doesn't ease up until the end. The kneeling wretch starts it all with chaos, jagged riffs, shrieking vocals, and drumming that feels like it's collapsing around you. Beyond Dara's Gate and the sacred flames of Anathematic keep that keep that storm going, layering distortion and ritualistic fury in a suffocating war of sound. The next song, Baptistery, hammers home that filthy old school black metal tone, buzzing and relentless. Then you hit the interlude, a 5-minute instrumental that's eerie, haunting, and claustrophobic, like being led blindfolded through a ritual chamber. It builds tension perfectly before dropping you into silent ruin. None Invade, which is a long one. Here, the dissonant riffs and furious drumming stuck into this suffocating mass. The shrieks clawing at the edge is a track that feels overwhelming by design. Finally, the closer, Day of Resurrection, seals it all in heavy, unhinged, full of manic shrieks and atmosphere that drags you right to the edge. Now, the vocals here are brilliant, absolutely perfect for black metal. They're raw, manic, and placed perfectly in the mix. They cut through the noise without overpowering it, adding to that suffocating, claustrophobic atmosphere. It's what makes the record feel so unhinged and ritualistic. Now, it's not without flaws. Now, the production is intentionally raw, but that means some riffs blur together, and the songwriting does get a little monotonous at times. There are stretches where it feels like you're being hammered with the same storm over and over again, but that's also part of the charm. It's not clean, it's not polished, it's suffocating, ugly, and also ritualistic. On the Unearthed scale, Rituals of Anathematic, East is an unearthed gem. It's an unearthed gem. I'm giving it an unearthed gem. It's raw, atmospheric, claustrophobic, and loaded with brilliant vocals. Even with the monotony, it captures that terrifying, ritualistic black metal spirit, and it's a record that dragged you straight into hell. Next up on Unearthed, we've got Tallah and the brand new album Primeval, Obsession, Detachment, released September 5th through Earache Records. Take a listen. They've been hyped as leaders of the whole new core wave, new metal core wave, carrying that late 90s new metal torch into 2025, and you can hear the influences right away. There's Korn in the groove, Slipknot in the aggression, even flashes of Linkin Park's melodic hooks. Now, the production here is fantastic. It sounds massive, clean, but heavy, and the low end is thick. But fun fact, the band actually recorded live in Michigan without click tracks or backing tracks, and you feel that chaotic human energy bleeding through. When the riffs lock in, they punch hard, and there's no denying it has that adrenaline-fueled chaos Tallah are known for. But here's where it starts to fall apart. The songwriting is pretty weak in my opinion. Too many tracks build and build, but never really fucking deliver that knockout punch. Instead of variation, it just keeps recycling the same formula. After the first 3 songs, it starts to feel quite monotonous, riffs blur together, the energy becomes predictable, and nothing sticks. It's all fury, no hooks. There are some tracks worth pointing out. A Primeval, Detachment is easily the heaviest cut here. Savage Chaotic, one of those songs you know will go down well live. It's raw, it's destructive, and it feels like Tallah firing on all cylinders. Then you've got Lacuna, which I actually think is one of the most interesting tracks. It blends acoustic passages with trap metal elements, really pushing into more experimental ground. That's where the band shows they can do something different when they want to, but those moments are too few and far between. Now, the vocals are a mixed bag. Justin Bonitz throws the whole kitchen sink at you, guttural screams, shrieking highs, melodic cleans, whispers, rapping the lot. When it works, it feels manic and unhinged in the best way, but when it doesn't, it just sounds overdone, like he's cycling through styles for the sake of it. Sometimes less is more, and on this record, he rarely pulls back. And that's the issue with the album as a whole. It's chaotic, but not always in a good way. Chaos can be powerful if the songs anchor it, but here it just feels quite messy. They clearly want to be unpredictable, and I respect that, but too often it comes off scattershot rather than sharp. So yeah, there's no denying the production is killer, there are sparks of creativity, but it doesn't add up to a great record. On the Unearthed scale, Primeval, Obsession, Detachment goes into the shallow grave. It's got flash, it's got energy, but the weak songwriting and uneven vocals hold it back. Tallah wear their influences proudly, but they're not doing enough to rise above them. I don't know why everyone loves this album, but to me, I think it was pretty average. Next up on Unearthed, we've got Dark Angel with a long-awaited return, Extinction level event. It's been over 30 years since their last record, and honestly, I don't get the hate for this one. I think it's a pretty solid comeback. Take a listen. Yeah, the production's raw, but that's part of the charm. It sounds primal, it sounds dangerous, it sounds alive. Gene Okerlund is still an absolute monster behind the kit. The riffs are razor sharp and the vocals sit right on the borderline between a thrash shout and a death growl. That harsher delivery gives the album way more bite. The open Extinction level event is a statement of intent, fast, violent, and urgent. Then you got Circular Firing Squad is pure pit fuel. One of the most aggressive tracks here. Woke Up to Blood leans nastier, almost death thrash, while Apex Predator slows the tempo into this ominous stomp before tearing back into the chaos. Sea of Heads is a proper neck snapper with that crunchy old school riff. Then you got Atavistic and Scalar Weaponry, maybe a little basic but still effective thrash rippers. Scarface the Room is chaotic and unhinged. E Pluribus Nemo brings a darker political edge. Terror Constructors blasts away with relentless speed, and Extraction Tactics closes the album in feral fashion. Now, I'll admit this isn't an instant classic on first listen. You need to give this album a couple of spins to really fucking click with it. But a second or third time through, the riffs start to dig in. The primal energy sinks under your skin and you can catch yourself banging your head. Honestly, it's the kind of record that's perfect for the gym or when you just need something raw and ferocious to push you through a workout. What doesn't work? A few songs don't stand out as much as others. Some riffs do blur together. The raw production, while fitting, can bury details and feel muddy at times. If you're looking for polished or technical thrash wizardry, this isn't it. But if you want brute force thrash with a primal apocalyptic edge, this is it. And here's the kicker. You won't find this on Spotify or Apple Music. If you want it, you've got to go through the label and buy it physically or digitally. I actually respect that because it keeps it in the underground. But yeah, it does make it harder for casual fans to dive in. At the end of the day, Extinction level event is raw, headbang, and it's quite epic. It's Dark Angel proving that after 3 decades, they can still deliver riffs that hit like a hammer. It takes a little time to fully settle in, but once it does, it's thrash at its most primal. For me, this is a solid find. Go check it out. Alright, next on Unearthed is Green Carnation with a Dark Poem Part 1, The Shores of Melancholia. I've always loved these Norwegian prog doom storytellers, and this one, it's another brilliant chapter in their saga. Now this album is all about the slow burn, how it sets you up with moody and atmosphere before plunging you into something fucking crushing. Now the opening trio, As Silence Took You, In Your Paradise, and Me, My Enemy is beautifully progressive and melodic, and Me, My Enemy is particular works as a perfect bridge, soft, haunting, and settling up that sharp contrast before the heaviness explodes. Because right after that you get The Slave That You Are, and it hits like a war, doom-laden, blackened, thick and aggressive. That moment lands harder precisely because the album spent the first 3 tracks drawing you in gently. It's such a satisfying payoff, and you wouldn't believe this was on the album. Then the self-titled The Shores of Melancholia swings back into melody, a brooding emotional piece that balances heaviness and reflectiveness, almost soaring elements. And finally, Too Close to the Flame, nearly 10 minutes of emotion, progression, and atmosphere. It's heavy in feeling, not just in sound, and it leaves you drained in an absolute best way. What I love is how each track feels like a chapter in a bigger story. The pacing makes sense, soft to heavy, reflective to crushing, melodic to devastating. That's not a flaw, that's intentional storytelling, and it works fucking beautifully here. For me, A Dark Poem Part 1 is a cohesive journey that combines progressive elegance with doom-laden heaviness and black metal intensity. It's emotional, it's layered, and it shows Green Carnation at their absolute fucking best. This one is an unearthed gem. Go check it out. Alright, up next we've got Yfel1710 with the very strange band name, but they released the album Black Metal Gnosis. But trust me, the music speaks for itself. Take a listen. This one is polished black metal through and through. It's raw, it's cold, and doesn't mess around. Right from the opening seconds, you're met with walls of tremolo riffs, blast beats, and a savage blackened shrieks that rip straight through the mix. The vocals are vicious, shrill in the best way, and they carry that same sense of unease and intensity a polished black metal has been known for. Most of the album is sung by Polish, and honestly, that only adds to the atmosphere. You might not understand a word they are fucking saying, but the delivery is so venomous and powerful, it doesn't even fucking matter. The emotion bleeds through every second. It's icy, it's grim, it's the exact kind of atmosphere you want when you throw in a record like this. Now the heavy moments really hit. There are parts that just crash down like a hammer, creating that suffocating doom-laden weight before spiraling back into chaotic tremolo runs. It's not a polished studio clean album, though it is quite. The production is pretty good, and that's exactly why it sort of works. Now the sound is primal, unfiltered, uncompromising, with a bit of slight sterile sound, but you know what? It's still got that raw, organic tone. Now, I'll be real, there are sections where songs blur together. The relentless pace and the adherence to tradition means you don't always get a lot of variation. If you're someone who wants progressive twists or big shifts in dynamics, you won't find them here. But for me, relentlessness is part of the experience. It locks you into the dark, oppressive headspace, and it doesn't let you out until it's done with you. Overall, black metal Gnosis is a fantastic slice of underground black metal. The shrieks, the riffs, also the fucking atmosphere. It nails that Polish aesthetic that doesn't compromise for a second. It's grim, it's heavy, it's harsh, and it's absolutely worth diving into. I'm giving this an solid find. And now we closed with Unearthed with something truly special in Mourning and the new album, The Immortal. And let me tell you straight up, I loved every single second of this record. Take a listen. From the opening swell, you can feel this is going to be more than just another mellow death release. It's drenched in emotion, heavy with atmosphere, and at times it reminded me of Insomnium, and at times it also reminded me of Swallow the Sun. That same melancholy touch, the same sense of sorrow mixed with beauty, but in Mourning take it somewhere else. They lay it with doom-laden riffs, progressive structures, and some of the most monstrous growls I've heard all year. This isn't just melodic death metal. This is something bigger, something monumental. Now the way the album is structured is near perfect. It starts with that intro, The Immortal, a quiet but ominous build that sets the stage before Silver Crescent drops and everything unfolds. Now the track is a statement, soaring melodies, emotional weights and riffs that carry you like waves. Songs of Cranes follows with an almost ethereal touch. It's haunting, it's atmospheric, but it never loses its edge. Then As Long As the Twilight Stays comes in, and this one is pure brilliance. It's slow burning at first, weaving its way through delicate passages, and then when it lands, it hits like a punch to you in the chest. One of those songs where you just stop what you're doing and let it take over. The Sojourner continues that balance, a mix of heavy growls and gorgeous melodic layers, and it's where you realize how well this band understands dynamics. They know when to strip back, when to crash in, and when to let atmosphere do the heavy lifting. Then the mid-section's Moonless Sky gives you that reflective, almost breathing space, and it's needed because right after that comes Staghorn. And whoa, what a song. It has right through with blackened tremolo riffs, sharp and cutting, adding this extra feral energy to the album without ever losing the melody. It's an absolute standout. North Star keeps the momentum flowing, full of heart and melancholy, and then it all comes to the hounding, and let me tell you, The hounding is everything. This closer is monumental in every sense of the word. It's emotional, it's heavy, it's melodic, it's really fucking devastating. It feels like a journey in itself. By the time it finishes, you feel like you've been through something profound, not just listening to music, but experiencing a story told through sound. Every instrument matters on here. The chord progressions tug at your heart. The guitar work is just phenomenal, weaving lead lines and crushing riffs together like they're painting landscapes. The drumming, fucking brilliant. Never flashy, but always impactful, always driving the songs with precision and power. And those vocals, the growls, are monstrous, cavernous, but when paired with melodies, they elevate everything into something truly fucking special. If I had to nitpick, maybe the intro could have been tacked in onto Silver Crescent, but honestly, that's just splitting hairs. When the rest of the album is this good, tiny details like that don't even matter. For me, this isn't just a good album or even a great one. This is a monumental album. It's monumental, it's emotional, it's crushing, it's atmospheric, and it's the kind of album you come back to again and again, but because it keeps giving you something new every time. Mourning have outdone themselves with the Immortal. This is the perfect closer to this week's Unearthed. A reminder that metal can be heavy, it can be devastating, but it can also be deeply moving. Giving this a monumental. And In Mourning is the first ever album I've rated as monumental. And that's it for this week's Unearthed. From the noise of Arabrot, the atmosphere of Ash Magick, the strange tones of Tallah, the primal dark thrash of Dark Angel, the prog ruins of Green Carnation, the raw fury of Yfel1710, and finally the monumental closer from In Mourning. What a lineup. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment with your favorite and don't forget to support these bands. I'll see you next week. Keep it heavy, keep it unearthed, and I'll see you in the next one.